One of my favorite moments in Cartoon Network's history is the early 2010s, more specifically the year 2010. 2010 saw the premieres of Adventure Time, Regular Show, and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, three great shows that were beloved by fans. However, there was one show that few remember, and those that do look back on the series fondly. Mad was a show that ran for 4 seasons from 2010 to 2013. I look back on the show with fond memories of it. Even though the show looks cheaply made, it still holds a special place in my heart. I believe the reason that most people don't remember this show is that it was overshadowed by the premiere of Regular Show, which actually premiered the same night as Mad at 8:15. But personally, that's how I remembered it. One of my now favorite shows, premiering right next to another show that pretty much blew my mind right after it. I know I'm being dramatic in saying that Mad blew my mind, but as a 7-year-old kid, that's all that it really did. I had no idea what I was watching, so to feed my nostalgia and hopefully feed yours, let me take you through a trip through time. The first venture from Mad outside of the publication was a failed pilot pitch to ABC that was aired in 1974 called the Mad Magazine TV special. The show was never picked up and was ultimately canceled. The special has pretty much fallen into obscurity, but it is pretty similar to what Mad would eventually become, including the style of comedy and animation style. In the mid-90s, Warner Bros., who recently bought out Mad, sought to create a television show based off of the magazine that had been in publication since 1952. The show was a sketch comedy series that parodied pop culture and topical events, much like the comic. The show would combine live action and animation. This series featured a cast that included Michael McDonald, Nicole Sullivan, Will Sasso, Alex Borstein, Phil Lamar, Keegan-Michael Key, and Jordan Peele, and many more. During the show's original 13-year run before being canceled in 2008, the show was nominated for 35 Primetime Emmys and won 5 of them. In 2009, Warner Bros. Would recruit Kevin Shinnick, who was previously a writer for Robot Chicken on Adult Swim, producer Sam Register, and animator Mark Merrick, who had previously created the Nickelodeon series Kablam. Warner Bros. Would pitch the show to Cartoon Network and be given the green light. The show would enter production on a 26-episode first season. Each episode would be 15 minutes, with 2 bookmark segments at the beginning and end of each episode. The show would be fully animated, being done in-house at Warner Bros. Animation Studio and Cartoon Network Studios. The show would combine traditional animation, stop motion, CGI. The first season premiered on September 6, 2010, after the premiere of a soon-to-be hit for the network, Regular Show, with the episode Avatar CSI Carly. The episodes were named after the 2 bookmark segments in the episode. The bookmark segments were segments that started and ended each episode. The segments would combine the 2 IPs that were being parodied together to get their name. For example, the sketch titled 2012 Dalmatians mixed the movies 2012 and 101 Dalmatians together. The sketch titled Clifford Field was a mix of Clifford the Big Red Dog and Cloverfield. And the sketch Grey's Anatomy mixed Grey's Anatomy and anime. You kind of start to get the point to what these segments were. In between the bookmark segments would feature a compilation of skits. These skits included a mad look inside, a skit taking a comical look inside famous celebrities, however these only lasted until the end of season 1, commercials for products that were parodies of other products, shorts created by Mike Wartella, and the most popular of the recurring sketches, Spy vs. Spy, which chronicled the feud between White Spy and Black Spy. Each episode ran for 15 minutes, although similar to other 15-minute shows around the time like Adventure Time and Regular Show, reruns would sometimes take 2 episodes and put them together to create a full 30-minute time slot. Starting in episode 9, a cold open would be introduced named Mad News. The anchor, voiced by Kevin Shinnick, would begin each segment with, "We interrupt this program with some breaking news," before giving a fictional news story within the Mad universe, then ending the segment with, "We now return to Mad already," before continuing with a line related to that story. Then the opening would run. The first season would air until June 20th, 2011. A second season would be ordered by Cartoon Network, and Warner Bros. Began production on the second season of Mad. Eventually, a third, then 4th season would be produced and aired on Cartoon Network. Mad would not be renewed for a 5th season due to low ratings, which I personally believe was due to poor marketing for the show. Ratings for the show never went above 2.5 million. The show would be canceled after 103 episodes, which was more than enough for reruns on Cartoon Network. The final episode aired on December 3rd, 2013. The show was panned for its cheaply made style, poor writing, bad jokes, and use of gross-out humor. IMDb's ratings never went past 7.0 and went as low as 2.9. The show ran on reruns for the next year until it was phased out of Cartoon Network's schedule by the end of 2014. The show now resides in full on Amazon Prime. The show hasn't even been mentioned on Cartoon Network since, not even in cameo fashion. And I will explain why I like this show after these messages.
Mad. It's Mad Funny. New series premieres Monday, September 6th at 8:30, only on Cartoon Network. On the next all-new episode of Mad.
Meet a U.S. Marshal who's tougher than he looks.
Oh, I think poo is in my...
Funding for the Blakout channel has been provided by the Go Fuck Yourself Reserve, Bickley Enterprises, Real Fathers Incorporated, and by viewers like you. Thank you. Mad was like an acid trip, but a good acid trip. The show was pretty weird, and that's pretty much why I liked it in the first place. The show marketed towards the 8 to 12-year-old demographic, but the references were a bit odd, like the skit Al Pacino and the Chipmunks. I get that Al Pacino sounds like Alvin, but Al actually isn't short for Alvin, it's short for Alfred. Kids in the 8 to 12 demographic aren't gonna know who Al Pacino is when his most recent appearance was in Jack and Jill. Mad was time slotted right before Adult Swim, which allowed Mad to push the envelope on what they could air in terms of gross out and innuendos. Most of the humor came from topical events from around that time, which meant that a majority of the humor is now dated. A lot of the humor was too gross, which was one of the reasons why it was panned by critics. The bookmark skits were pretty much a hit or miss for me, at least. Some of my favorites include Clifford Field, Mouse MD, Thomas the Unstoppable Tank Engine, Destroy Bob the Builder Destroy, and Once Upon a Tune. The skits in between the bookmarks were some of my favorites, more specifically the skits done by Mike Wartella. Wartella was an animator who had a weird style, similar to an acid trip. Consistently, the Mike Wartella shorts were pretty good, and apparently Adult Swim thought so too, as today, Mike does bumpers for the network. Usually the shorts start out as normal, but end up having a big twist at the end.
Hey, give me a hot dog. With everything. That'll be $900 billion. Yeah, better make that just relish.
Spy vs. Spy was my all-time favorite though, and was pretty much the most popular of the recurring sketches from what I've heard, and actually got a couple video games too. Another thing that I liked about Mad were the different animation styles they used. Now granted, this wasn't the best animation, but I applaud them for being bold and trying something new. Looking at it, Mad seemed to be a low-budget remake of the original TV show, but to some people, it meant a lot more. This show premiered right next to the premiere of one of the network's biggest hits, and it is still fondly remembered by those who loved the show back in the day. That's all I pretty much have to say about Mad. I suggest you watch the show and form your own opinion on it if you don't agree with my opinion. If you do agree with my opinion, that'd be cool. I'd like to hear about your guys' opinion on the show in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later.